I'm sorry it's not been possible to join you today, but I still wanted to share some thoughts with you. For the last 3 years, we've all strived for outcomes that would not diminish our country, that would preserve our nation's peace, prosperity and potential, as well as our place at international top tables, where our influence and soft power help to make the world a better place. But we have faced considerable obstacles, not least a populist narrative over which we had no control, and which all too often ended up defining us and our motives. But I have never been a Ramona or anti-democratic, and I know that neither have you. We've focused on defending the values and principles that have made our country respected around the globe. Now I know that millions are feeling completely deflated about how we were defeated. But I'm afraid defeated we were, whether we like it or not. Now the ball is firmly in the court of Mr. Johnson, and it is my view that whilst we must respect the democratic outcome, that does not mean that as responsible citizens with a strong sense of moral and civic duty, that we just sit this one out. The withdrawal bill that is now an act, just passed in the last few days, is not the one that was floated in the general election. Layers of parliamentary oversight and scrutiny have been removed, and this should worry everyone, irrespective of their Brexit badge. Because lack of oversight leads to less robust policy making, and as Robin Cook said, good scrutiny leads to good government. Once this is removed, who are the guardians? The courts? The rule of law? But these too are worryingly under attack in what looks like petty revenge, not reasoned reform. We must continue to watch out for each other, for our country, for collective scrutiny, and hold the government to account should they attempt to overreach their power or pursue policies that will not just damage us and our families, but the most vulnerable in society. Because caring is beyond politics, and we cannot allow the government to silence our legitimate concerns or to browbeat us into not calling out dishonesty, or allow the populist messages that drove Brexit continue to weaponize language or to drive discrimination and divisions. We must also make sure that paying attention to detail does not become unfashionable. Boris Johnson and his government have been lent people's trust and belief that they can deliver on their promises. I believe we should allow them the space to try to do that. If they can, it strikes me that we should have the humility and grace to acknowledge their achievements, as divided countries never prosper, especially in the face of the enormity of issues without borders that we are facing imminently. Issues such as automation, globalization, climate change, devastating diseases and viruses, and the threat of terrorism. It is my view that the time has come to move forward and learn lessons. To put aside small differences, small thinking, small ambitions. It is time to turn our attention to championing collective responsibility, compassion and common sense. As my mother often said, no point crying over spilt milk. Just make sure you don't spill it again. So my message to you today, be proud of your passion and patriotism. Be positive about your desire to contribute to a more equitable, honest and safe society. Be strong in your love for our country and stay committed to resisting those who seek to silence us. But also be very wary, as I believe that with the EU no longer their bogeyman, the government and their supporters will seek to orchestrate the narrative against anyone daring to speak up and hold them to account. I will continue to dare, and I very much hope you will too. We must not allow them to make us their scapegoats. If their agenda is to hold the reins of power at all costs, ours must be to call out that cost if it is the dehumanizing of sections of our society, the destabilizing of our democracy and rule of law, and the disfiguring of our economy. because our agenda has never been and will never be about power, but people. Over the last 4 years, I believe we have failed to be sufficiently clear and positive about those messages. We too often allowed ourselves to indulge in arguing amongst ourselves. We allowed others to define who we are and what we stand for. We lacked leadership and strategy. We failed to effectively utilize or motivate our grassroots networks and supporters. I also believe we failed to walk in the shoes of those who have not naturally warmed to us. It is now time to close down the echo chamber. It is time to reach out and find common ground. Time to broker conversations that will preserve the principles and values that we uphold and our communities and country hold dear. Because we are leaving the European Union in 7 days' time. But we will not leave our commitment to speak out and defend, because there are those who I believe are seeking to use our island as a laboratory for their ideology. To paraphrase Einstein, our country will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. Despite the brutality and abuse that I and my family have had to endure over the last 3 years, I will keep watching and be patient, dissecting the detail and remaining ready to defend and fight for the ethics, values and principles that safeguard our society should they become under threat. And I know that you will too. Thank you, and I very much hope to see you very soon.